The other night, I watched my boys sprawled out on the couch, both completely zoned out on their phones. You know what scared me? They didn't even notice when I walked in and stood there for a good minute. Made me think of that scene in Fahrenheit 451 where the guy walks past his wife 3 times and she doesn't even look up from her wall screens. But here's the thing. This isn't going to be another one of those phones are bad lectures. Trust me, I've worked with computers my whole life. This is about something deeper, something Bradbury saw coming way back in 1953 that's hitting different now. First thing that hit me reading this book again, you know Montag's wife, Mildred, can't even remember anything, not even taking a bottle of pills the night before. That's not just about being addicted to screens. It's about losing your connection to your own history. Think about it. When's the last time you really remembered something? Not just checking your Instagram feed or timeline, but actually remembering it. The smell, the feeling, the world experience. I was talking to my boys about 9/11 the other day. For me, it's burned in my memory. Every detail, every emotion. For them, it's just a history lesson, like Civil War or World War II. And I realized we're losing something important here. We outsource all of our memories to devices. We're not just storing them, we're distancing ourselves from them. Here's what I started doing. Every now and then at dinner, we play this game, Remember When. Each person has to share a memory. Not just something they saw online, but something they actually experienced. No phones allowed. First few times, crickets. Now, can't get them to stop talking. Let's talk about Montag for a moment. Here's a guy who's got it made. Good job, steady life, everything society says should make him happy. Then one day he realizes he's living a lie. That takes guts to admit, even more guts to do something about it. You know what? I've been there. Spent years in a career that looked perfect on paper. Good money, respect, the whole 9 yards. But something felt off, like Montag with his books. I had questions that I couldn't ignore anymore. Here's what Montag taught me about making big changes. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to admit you've got questions. And let me tell you something. The moment you start questioning things, people get uncomfortable. And they should. I started small. Instead of jumping ship entirely, I began setting aside an hour each day to learn something new. Something that actually interested me, not just what would look good on my LinkedIn page. That hour changed my life. Every time you try to wake up, to think differently, you're gonna meet a beatie. You know the type. Someone who read all the books but missed all the wisdom. Someone who uses their knowledge to keep others down. I had a manager like this in one of my first jobs. Their whole mindset was the only way they could keep their position was by telling everyone under them that they were under them because they weren't as good as he was. And a lot of people actually believe that. These are people that have been in the career for years, and they believed that this mid-level manager knew more than they did about what they were doing every single day. And the moment that they questioned it, the moment that they realized that this manager was speaking out of his butthole, everyone got up and left. And the manager was left with people who really didn't know what they were doing or were so beaten down that they didn't care to try. The trick isn't fighting these people, it's recognizing them. And more importantly, recognizing when we're acting like them. Because let's be honest, sometimes we're the ones trying to keep others comfortable and numb. You know what's weird about Montag's world? It's never quiet. Ever. There's always noise. The TV walls, the seashell radios, the roar of jet engines. Sound familiar? I remember when my boys first got their phones. Suddenly there was constant buzz of notifications, videos, messages, and something happened. They stopped hearing themselves think. Hell, even I stopped hearing myself think. So I tried something. Every morning, I started taking my coffee outside. No phone, no music, nothing. Just me and my thoughts. For the first few days, it was torture. Couldn't stand it. My mind kept screaming for input. But something weird happened. I started having actual thoughts. Not reactions to other people's thoughts, but my own thoughts. Here's the real kicker. In Fahrenheit 451, they don't need sensors anymore. People censored themselves by choosing noise over silence. We're doing the same thing, and we don't even realize it. How many times do you go through the day and actively censor the things you say for fear of other people's reactions? Remember how in the book there was this war going on in the background? Nobody really pays attention to it. They're too busy watching their wall screens. Then, boom, everything's gone. We've got our own background wars going on right now. Not just the real ones that nobody's paying attention to, but the war for our attention, our thoughts, our minds. And just like in the book, we're barely noticing. Every app on your phone is designed by people who understand the human psychology better than most psychologists. They know exactly how to keep you scrolling, keep you watching, keep you from thinking too hard about anything. This kind of reminds me of a story back when I was in the military. I was stationed on what was then West Germany, and we were preparing our jets. And we were putting live munitions and live bombs on these jets. And everyone knew that if these jets took off or even moved out of their hardened shelters, that it was war. So tensions were running very high. So let me give you the picture. We're in this hardened shelter, which is think of a half-round bunker that's made of concrete reinforced that's 2 to 3 feet thick, with front sliding doors that open up to let the jet out, that are reinforced by 100 different metal I-beams. Now, these bunkers are airtight. There's filtration systems, and it's got its own generator to provide electricity outside of the normal electricity. And we're getting these planes ready, and everyone's on edge. And then suddenly, all the lights in this bunker go out. Now, if you think you know what dark is, if you've never been in a room that is hermetically sealed, that has 3-foot thick walls around you, and it's 2 a.m. outside in the freezing cold winter, lights go out, it is pitch black. You cannot see your hand in front of your own face. So there's about 7 of us inside this bunker, and somebody has to go to the attached bunker to start the generator. And lo and behold, I either volunteered myself or I got volunteered. I can't remember which. But I grab my flashlight, I go out through this heavy metal door, walk around behind our hardened shelter to the attached hardened shelter, open up its heavy metal door, and as I walk into where the generator is, the door, as it's designed to do, slams shut behind me. That was enough of a startle. But as I'm sitting there fumbling with this generator that I've never seen before, never touched, and have no idea how it really operates, I'm looking at all the buttons and all the switches, and I finally figure out which switch it is that's going to turn on this generator. And just as I'm reaching to grab this switch and flip it up, I feel a hand on my shoulder. I cannot tell you how much I jumped. If there wasn't a 3-foot thick concrete ceiling above my head, I probably would have gone right through it. My heart jumped out of my chest, ran into a corner, and cried itself to sleep. At that exact same moment, I turn around to face what had just put their hand on my shoulder. And there, standing behind me with an equally surprised look on their face, is one of my teammates who had somehow managed to walk behind me the entire way silently without me hearing a single thing. And his face went from shocked to scared because I looked like I was about to kill him, and then back to himself being shocked, and then pure laughter because of how ridiculous the situation was. In any case, that's how I got myself caught up in the attention trap. I was so focused on what I was doing that I ignored everything else around me. My friend, this was like 30 years ago. My friend still brings up that moment. Tim, if you're out there, I still owe you one. Anyway, let's get on with it. The book people at the end of Fahrenheit 451, they're not just walking libraries. They're living connections to human wisdom, each one choosing something worth preserving, worth passing on. Here's something I started with my kids. Every month, each one of us has to learn something worth teaching the others. It could be a skill, a story, a piece of history. It doesn't really matter. What matters is it has to be something that would matter even if the internet disappeared tomorrow. Last month, my youngest taught us about a constellation pattern. Not from an app, but from actually going outside and looking up. And you know what? It was the first time in years I really looked up at the stars. You know what's powerful about those book people? They're a real community. Not a Facebook group, not a subreddit. Actual humans come together for something meaningful. I started a weekly coffee meetup with some friends. No agenda, no phones, just coffee and conversation. The first few times were kind of awkward as hell, but now it's the highlight of my week. We talk about everything. Politics, philosophy, our kids, our fears, real stuff. At the end of Fahrenheit 451, after everything burns and they start rebuilding, not with technology, not with screens, but with human connection, with knowledge passed down from person to person. Here's some things that I learned. You don't have to wait for everything to burn down to start rebuilding. Start now. Start small. Things like pick one meal to be screen-free, or learn one thing that doesn't require Google, or have a real conversation every day. If none of those work, try finding your book people, the ones that really make you think, or create something instead of just consuming. Look, I'm not saying throw away your phones or go live in the woods. That's not the point. The point is to wake up before everything burns down around us while we're staring at our screens. Remember what Granger says at the end of the book about the phoenix? We keep making the same mistakes, but we also keep having the chance to do better. That's us right now. We've got a choice. So what do you think? How are you staying human in a world that's trying to turn us all into Mildred? Drop your thoughts below after you've had some quiet time to think about what those things are. Next week, we'll dive into another classic that saw too much coming. Until then, keep thinking, keep questioning, and remember, the most human thing you can do is to choose to be fully awake. I'm John. This is Book Summaries. Have a great day.